So the Pittsburgh Steelers just got a double dose of great news. And man, a loss is really tough to take, especially this last one against Green Bay. So it's really nice to report on some unexpected great injury news as well as a much needed signing. Let's start with the injury news. This is really good news because when the Pittsburgh Steelers, when they had safety Deshaun Elliott, when he suffered a knee injury in Week 8, there was an immediate concern for his rest of the season status. Elliott was carted off during the game. You guys saw it. Typically a terrible sign. And also, he looked really distraught and upset as he exited to the locker room. But now, Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin, he just revealed today that actually it is not the worst case scenario. Elliott's actually dealing with a hyperextended knee. This is now considered week to week. Injured reserve is still a possibility, maybe, but it's not a season-ending injury as was originally thought. Jeremy Fowler, I have that posted up there, thought originally that it was going to be a season-ending injury, saying that the Steelers are bracing for Elliott to miss the rest of the season, although Fowler did not at the time talk about his ACL, which was still intact at the time. So this is exactly what Fowler had to say. The Steelers are bracing for safety Deshaun Elliott to miss the rest of the season. Per sources, his ACL is intact, and he's working through the nature of the leg injury. So Pittsburgh will hold out hope, but a return is not considered likely at this point. Man, it's really good to get good news on that, right? And it goes without saying, the Steelers, they can't really afford to have really someone who's their best player in the secondary, regardless of all these signings. These players are kind of looking old and used up thus far in the season. If we were going to do a final assessment, kind of Slay looks kind of cooked, for example. He looks way slower than he used to. Philadelphia might have cut bait with him at exactly the right time, but regardless, Elliott was a player that this secondary cannot afford to lose. This should be a short-term injury. We don't have to worry about an end-of-season ACL injury or anything like that. So really great thing. Great presence in the locker room. Huge bonus to get some good news after these two losses in the row. It's really demoralizing. So a little more. Let's get to some great signing news, shall we? And to me, at the outset, this looks like a really good signing. The Steelers, they are expected to bring in Valdes-Scantling to bolster their receiving core. MVS, we'll just call him that. He's going to start on the practice squad. No word yet on when he's going to be elevated to the active roster and put into game action and start taking snaps in real time. But I think my main question moving into this, does this move really move the needle? I mean, is this, granted, this isn't a negative move, but is this the type of player that the Steelers have been pining for, that us as fans have been banging the table for? Does it move the needle, or is it just kind of a stopgap option? I mean, we can kind of look at it. He's 29. He's had some really brilliant moments throughout his career, and mostly that was centered on his time with Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He had a fantastic season, he had a couple really good seasons in Green Bay. During his time with Aaron Rodgers, he had 3,606 receiving yards, 20 touchdowns, and that's over his whole career, over 8 seasons. But a good amount of that was with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. His trademarks are vertical speed, vertical ability. He can still, I think at 29 with his speed, still take the top off of defenses. I mean, that's the good, right? But just as often, the bad. There's been times during his career that he's vanished for long periods of time. I remember playing fantasy football. We used to joke in my fantasy football league that MVS is actually really good at running wind sprints down the field, not really a threat to catch the ball when he was with Kansas City. But to follow that up, he did have one superior year recently with the New Orleans Saints. So this is a player that's been on the radar before the start of the season, and now after a workout, they're bringing him in for the remainder of the season, and he's going to join a group, frankly, that needs an addition. I think the positive is that he will further open up the field for this passing game, and Aaron Rodgers, he's not really struggling, though. DK Metcalf, he's actually looked really, really good. But that explosive element of the offense hopefully will be bolstered, will be brought to pass by MVS. I think it's actually a really good move. Someone to be a little more reliable alongside Calvin Austin III. Calvin Austin, he was really coming on big time before that injury. Now it looks like he's ramping back up. Roman Wilson. Who would have thought Roman Wilson actually had his first really good game? Hopefully that's a sign for things to come. And yeah, I think MVS, he's a speedy receiver. He's been a capable wide receiver 2 or 3 for several teams. And I think it's actually his worst season. The worst that you're going to get is 315 yards and a touchdown. But his best season was 690 and 6 touchdowns. He actually led the league that year with 20.9 yards per reception. And if you ask what year that was in 2020 with yours truly, Aaron Rodgers. So I think the chemistry is going to be there. I think it's actually a really good pickup, and we'll see. I think it's low risk as well. Not the big splash everybody's hoping for, but still, I think it's a really solid signing. Kind of looking at what are the Steelers going to do before the trade deadline. I think there's still possibly one big move left in them. New Orleans. It's sounding like, if you read what's on the internet, it's sounding like the New Orleans Saints are going to be willing to get rid of at least one of their receivers. So you've got Rashid Shaheed, right? He's a possibility. I think Olave might be a bit of a pipe dream. I don't think the New Orleans Saints are going to get rid of him. But if you could get Shaheed for, like, I don't know, a 4th-round draft pick, that's a nice move, right? I'm not really interested in Calvin Ridley. I think he's kind of used up. Not really interested in that. But yeah, I think Shaheed would be a really nice signing. I think if you went over and plucked that certain receiver from the Las Vegas Raiders, I think that would be an absolutely fantastic pickup. I hope the Steelers are in on that because he's talking about that he wants a trade. So for that matter, I'm just really glad that they made a move at receiver. I think MVS has a lot of things going for him. He still has that top-end speed. He's shown that he can do it for a season or two for the right team, and he has that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers. Let's see what happens, right? So now, with the injury to Deshaun Elliott, he's probably not going to be back for a week or two, best case scenario. The Steelers actually did make a move on that. And what they did, they signed a former Commanders player, which is kind of interesting. They brought in a veteran safety after Deshaun Elliott went down. And the guy that they brought in, according to NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, the Steelers signed safety Derek Forrest to their practice squad. And this obviously is on the heels of the Elliott signing. And I mean, this is kind of intriguing. I don't think it's like a blockbuster move, but this good news on Elliott certainly is really good news. And kind of, if you remember when Elliott got hurt, during that defeat to the Packers, that's when Jordan Love, he threw up a pass on 3rd and 5, and it went to tight end Tucker Kraft, right? He ran for 26 yards, moved this into Steelers territory on the first drive of the second half. And, Deshaun Elliott got hurt before halftime. And then after that, they couldn't really stop anyone in the secondary. But kind of the interesting part of this and why I want to highlight this is because of the officiating in this game. I mean, Steelers safety Juan Thornhill ended up tackling Kraft, and then Kraft spun around and fell into the right leg of Elliott. Elliott fell down, held his leg in pain, ended up going to the locker room. You know what happened out of that play. But the interesting thing to me is that the officiating has gotten so ridiculously bad. And so they just pick and choose, especially when they want to call offensive pass interference. I mean, Tucker Kraft obviously pushed off with both arms to get free and had that big catch that really broke this game wide open. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that the officiating has been that bad. I don't think that's the reason that the Steelers lost. They are holding the Packers down in the first half. It looked really good, but honestly, I think the Deshaun Elliott injury really messed things up in the secondary. After that, they couldn't stop anyone. And after that, right, Love, he dominated through the air, 20 consecutive passes at one point, 17 of them coming in the second half. So let's kind of look at this. Elliott obviously is a quality player. I can go through the fact that he has 38 tackles, 20 solo, 3 quarterback hits, 1 pick, and 5 starts this season. And Elliott also had 12 tackles alone in the 23-9 win over the Cleveland Browns in Week 5. Had his interception in the 24-21 win over the Minnesota Vikings in Dublin. He has made an impact, one of the better tacklers on the team. His work in coverage, it really prevents big gains. So let's kind of look at what we have here with Forrest here. The signing of him, I don't think it's going to be a huge signing. But kind of this is a guy out of Cincinnati. He appeared in 49 games from 17 to 2020, 200 tackles and 6 interceptions. He ended up going in the 5th round of the Washington Commanders. So a little short bio. He appeared in 8 games as a rookie. And then in 2022, he actually showed that he could be a quality starter. He started 11 games in 2022. He was a nice little player. He finished with 88 tackles, 4 picks, 2 forced fumbles that year. And then he played in just 15 games over his final 2 years with Washington. He actually had a shoulder injury that really derailed him. He ended up on injured reserve in October of 2023. He's still 26. He's signed by the Steelers, a cheap deal. And it kind of comes at the right time to at least bolster the depth on here with Deshaun Elliott hurt. So he avoided the worst case scenario. It looks like kind of you're looking at Chuck Clark being the top option next to Elliott free safety over the last 2 weeks. You have Juan Thornhill. He's going to get more playing time. Jabril Peppers. He only had 13 snaps on defense versus Green Bay. He otherwise hasn't gotten much run on that side of the ball since week 3. So now if you look at both Chuck Clark and Jabril Peppers, they're the main backups at strong safety. They're going to continue to assume larger roles going forward on defense. That's an absolute necessity. But the Steelers, Elliott being gone is a huge thing. But if you're looking at Clark or Peppers, I think it's going to be Peppers. If he can hold it down, if he can play effectively, the loss isn't going to hurt as much, especially if there's some time to prepare for this next matchup. I'm not even going to talk about the next matchup next. You guys know that's going to be a tough game. We're going to save that for later in the week. But I just wanted to talk about, it's hard being a fan of a team like you guys are. The Pittsburgh Steelers seem to be destined for a 10-win or 9-win season every single year. A wild card loss in the first round. But I think if you can be a little patient with them, I think now that you have Aaron Rodgers, your offense is not an issue. This defense needs to get it together, or honestly, heads coaches have to start rolling because you have doled out the most money in the NFL for these defensive players. You have the talent. I think they're being mismanaged a bit. So let's pray that the coaching staff can get it together so you guys can actually enjoy Sundays moving forward. I'm going to continue to be here on the daily with Pittsburgh Steelers news, kind of from an outsider's perspective, and you guys have been awesome. Hit the like and subscribe button, and I will see you soon.